Bob, hi.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
We're going to talk to you today a little bit about your work, about how the quarantine restrictions are affecting you, and all of the rest of that. But first of all, I just want to have a bit of a chat with you about your background, so people understand who you are and what you do here in Malta and your history.
Yeah, I'm as Maltese as you can be. I was born in Tarifa Hospital. My family moved out to the UK in '61, late '61. I spent all my formative years and my teenage and adult years in the UK up until 4 years ago when I decided to move back to Gozo. Um, Although I come from Malta, I found Gozo was just a little bit of a slower pace. And obviously the thing that drew me here was the weather, uh, the people, and just the lifestyle. Yeah.
So, when it comes to arts, is this a hobby for you? Is this your job? Do you make a living doing this, or is it something that you just, fit in?
Well, yeah. To be fair, I started out at art college, wanted to do fine art. At the time, fine art for me, was too esoteric and it didn't really, fulfill my dreams to change the world. I got introduced to guys from the interior design department and decided to switch courses and went on and did a 4-year course in interior design, a very architecturally based interior design course. And that basically led me down the path of a career in design. Primarily, originally it was point of sale design, then onto retail interiors, graphics, brand origination, corporate identity, all that kind of stuff. And for the best part of 38 years, ran my own business after going freelance a bit originally. Ran my own design business and had peaks and troughs and all sorts of stuff. But at the end of that, which was sort of 5-6 years ago, I just kind of lost my mojo and I just got really bored with it, to be honest. And decided I needed to make some radical changes to my life, which is why I kind of chose Gozo as a retirement place. Although I haven't given up the whole design practice because I still work with a number of choice clients that I've had over the years. So I do my work in the morning. First thing, I'm up at 6, I'm on the computer, I work with my retail clients. And then at about 10 o'clock, I get into the studio and I start working on this stuff, which is pleasure. It's more pleasure than a career. Although I'd like this to develop this into a second career where I'm then recognised as a proper artist and I can drop all the retail stuff, completely.
So you mentioned there the studio. You're obviously not in your studio at the moment. Because these times everybody's quarantined at home. So where do you usually work?
I have a very small but cosy studio cum gallery in Victoria, just literally around the corner to the right-hand side of St George's Church in St George's Square, Victoria. It's almost like an 8x8 room. I hang all my works there. People come along and look through the window while I'm working, and they come in and chat. And obviously, with the latest developments, it was pointless being in Victoria, and there was too many people. Well, not too many people. The whole place just started to close down, and I retreated to home, where everyone should be right at this moment. They should all be at home, doing what they can to stay out of people's way. And I'm sitting here in my kind of dining room, lobby, whatever, doing the best to stay painting. And to be fair, it hasn't really affected me so much because I'm still painting. Not like some people who've had to give up their job and go home and find things to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, isn't it? Well, not funny. It's terrible, really, for a lot of people.
Tragic, yeah.
With their work, but the artists seem to be adapting quite well because we already spend a lot of time on our own. So how are you finding it? Is this an easy transition for you?
It's early days, but I mean, for me, working from home is not ideal. I've got the mindset of going to work. There's a journey from home to work. I get into the studio. I'm ready to go. I put in a set amount of hours and I work quite diligently. The trouble being at home is that you take a little bit longer to get going. You might have another breakfast, and you think, well, actually, I need to, do that little bit of DIY, or I'll go in the yard and titivate that plant, and you lose a few hours. It's not quite the sort of studious working environment that I'm used to.
Yeah. So the studio is in Victoria. So when things get back to normal again, people will be able to obviously visit you there. And I also know that you had an exhibition coming up that, unfortunately, like many people, you've had to cancel your exhibition. Can you tell us a bit about your show, what it was called? Is it postponed? Is it cancelled? Where will it be?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's most exhibitions now, not just mine, are on hold or postponed, or due to further notice. I was due to exhibit at Cardona, which is in Showkia. It's the winery building of Joe Spiteri's winery, and he's a very keen artist himself and a very keen art supporter, and he wants to build a real art hub there at some point. Following on an exhibition he did with Chris Saliba back just before Christmas, I think it was. I was due to exhibit there all over Easter, the whole sort of March into April. And that was basically, originally we were looking to do a lot of paintings set around Duera, and I have produced quite a few paintings set around Duera, but I then decided to expand it out to a more eclectic range of paintings. I have a very kind of wide variety of paintings. And so it's called Ensemble. It's an ensemble piece. And I figured, we all struggle to come up with names for exhibitions, and I figured I'm going to be the now of exhibitions. So it'll be Ensemble 1, Ensemble 2, and so on. I won't have to think about names, because it's really, it's paintings from, I do portraits, I do landscapes, I do semi-abstract, slight impressionist. So I don't want to pigeon myself into some, pseudo-intellectual title, really.
Sure. So do you think this exhibition will actually go ahead at some point in the future?
It will do, but the trouble is now nobody knows when. I mean, ideally, hopefully, this whole thing kind of ebbs within 2 or 3 months, and I think then there's going to be a flurry of exhibitions, because the Citadel in Victoria has a lot of exhibitions. The Bunker has a lot of exhibitions, and Cardona obviously will want to get back on track, and I want to share my work. But in the meantime, my work you can see on Facebook, on my Facebook page.
Okay, brilliant. So we've joined you in your makeshift studio today, which is obviously your
dining table. Yeah.
Is this your kitchen dining room?
Dining table, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see, it is what it is. I can still paint. The light's fairly good. Not today because it's overcast, but the light's usually pretty good.
Yeah. So this is your home in Gozo, which is, I guess,
Munshar, uptown, top-ranking Munshar. This is the place to be.
Yeah, the place to be. Okay, so I can see you've got a painting there on your canvas. So what's this that you're working on at the moment?
This is a bit of a diversion for me, because I don't normally paint flowers, but I saw, because a lot of my inspiration comes from images that I've either hunted for, I like, or something will pop up on Facebook or on Pinterest, and I think, wow, I love it, I love that. And it's the challenge of painting something that I've seen that inspires me, really. And someone posted this picture of a beautiful field of poppies and I don't know what the yellow flowers are. I'm not particularly great at flowers, but just a wonderful scene of spring, really, in Malta. And you can't beat the wildflowers here in the springtime. They're fantastic. And I just thought, what a lovely painting. I've never done anything like it. It's kind of Monet's, forte, and I'm no Monet. But I thought I'd have a go and try and get the sense of distance, but also there's a rhythm. I found while I was painting this, there's a lovely rhythm to the way that the landscape works. There's kind of grasses in one direction, and then grasses in another direction, meeting the horizon here where all the houses are. And then the actual poppies themselves obviously are influenced by the contour of the land. And then you've got this lovely, kind of this really nice kind of wave rhythm going on. And just painting lots of little red dots is not as easy as it looks, actually, because you don't want just dots. You have to give them a personality to each flower. You know, there's a direction and there's a light and shade. So there's quite a lot more to do on this yet. There's other white flowers in the foreground. But I'm trying to keep it loose. And I particularly like this area here where I've just stabbed in some marks of just to try and sort of simulate the complexity of the grasses below the flower heads.
Yeah.
Every painting is an education, you know.
Yeah, I think poppies are a lovely subject matter. I've painted them myself, and it's something, I think it's maybe something to do with the red and the green being opposite colours that really makes them, you know, striking.
But they're very synonymous with this. Somehow for me, they also great nostalgia, because when I was a child, we grew up in St. Paul's Bay, and Bajibba didn't exist when I was a kid. So all that what is now Bajibba behind St. Paul's Bay was fields, and I always remember, you know, as a 5-year-old going through these fields with tall grasses and poppies everywhere. And somehow Malta has a brilliant effect, and it draws poppies just spring up everywhere in Malta for some reason. You don't get as many in the UK, never.
Well, so this is a work in progress essentially that you've just started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite different to your typical subject matter, which,
very different.
You know, as people will see, you paint a lot of cars, you paint portraits, you paint all kinds of different subject matter. How do you actually how do you choose what to paint? How do you decide?
It is fairly random, I have to say. Like I said, I find an image that I like. The Cars series, I just love old American cars. I mean, they're so sensuous, they're so curvy, you know, and they're so outrageous at times with the fins and the lights. But I really like them when they've been exposed to the elements and they're wrecks and they start to fall apart, and then nature takes over and it starts to create this incredible pattern and texture and colour within the metalwork. And I love it when they start to degrade. And I've painted quite a few of those cars, and I just love them. I just love the whole effect. And trying to when painting, trying to get the contrast between a headlamp, which is a really glassy object which doesn't really degrade, and then all the stuff around it degrades, and the shine of a headlamp or a bit of chrome against a piece of metal that's got 5 layers of paint on it, it's just rusting away. That itself is quite exciting. There's a lot of technique, but also I just love expressing those contrasts, and it just inspires me, really.
Mm-hmm. So anything that you think will make a decent image, composed nicely, will kind of attract your attention.
Yeah, the decent image to me has to have a lot of light and shade and change of texture. I mean, for this painting, the challenge is, can I make these flowers go away into the distance? You have to paint smaller and smaller dots, and there's some really big ones in the foreground, and they're catching the light, and then there's reflected light, and there's direct light, and then there's deep shadows. So there's a lot going on in what is a flowery painting. I always a little bit wary of flowery paintings. They might look a bit twee, a bit IKEA. You see what I mean? So that's why I kind of don't normally do them. But this is such a beautiful place. Well, it's just kind of a little bit, yeah. I love IKEA furniture, but some of the paintings you get in there are just kind of mass media paintings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I also know that you do commission work. So is this a commission, or is this something that you're doing for yourself?
No, this is like I said, it's really. I was thinking I needed to cheer myself up with all this nonsense going on with, and I just thought, actually, let's do something bright and cheerful, and hence the poppy field. And spring has sprung despite the virus. You can't change that. You can't stop that. There's no shutdown. There's no lockdown on spring. So that's brilliant. But no, commissions I enjoy because being in the design industry, I always work to a brief, and trying to shake that off is hard. I actually enjoy working to a brief, even more when I'm working to a deadline. If someone says I need something, in 3 weeks' time, it makes me work way harder, and it takes a lot of the decision making out of it, because you have to do it and you have to do it quickly, so you don't agonize over it. And if you give me too much time, I'll squander it anyway. So I like to work to a brief. I like to get someone, say, I need a painting of this, or can you paint this for me? And I go, yes. There's a challenge. There's a commitment to the client, which I'm also very used to. And there's a sense of, I'm going to make this client go, wow. When I was in design, we always gave at least 3 really good ideas. And the client always struggled to make a decision about which was the best idea. Because the worst thing you can do is give them 2 really good ideas and a rubbish one, because inevitably they'll go for the rubbish one. That's the problem. So you always give them 100% every time. And likewise for the painting, if someone says, I need a portrait, I will do the portrait to the point where they can't do it and they love it. If they don't love it, I'll just do it again. Simple as that. They have to love it for me.
Yeah. So it looks as though you're using acrylic paint there. Is that your medium of choice?
Yeah, it is. It is my medium of choice, because I'm an impatient painter. I can't handle the oils because they take too long to dry. And I get really messy with oil paint for some reason. I get it everywhere. And there's all that messing about with turps and linseed oil and whatever they use.
Pleasant, is it?
But acrylics, they're very flexible. I can use them as thinly as watercolor. I can create glazes. I can use them straight out the tube. I can add, medium to them to make them thicker, and they dry really quick. And sometimes I even dry them with a hairdryer, just to speed things up. I'll get the hairdryer out and dry on. And you can build up fantastic layers, of colour wash over colour wash. So if you've got a blue background and you put a thin yellow glaze over it, it'll give you a fantastic green. And there's an element of serendipity to it. Things happen by accident, which is great sometimes.
Do you ever paint using other media like watercolor or oils, or is it purely acrylics?
It's mostly acrylics. I am trying to master watercolor. Watercolor is really hard because it's about what you leave out, and how much white you leave, and you have to really think ahead with watercolor. And it's so easy to get very muddy colors. But it's a medium I'd really like to master, because I think the effect that you get from watercolor on some really good paper with water, now you let the watercolor do its job. It's fantastic. I'm quite envious of those who can do it really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a skill. I've been painting for years, and watercolor I've always been very hesitant about, because you have to do so much forward thinking and planning, and I'm just not that kind of person. I like to change my mind and rub things out, and you can't really do that with watercolor. So I totally understand why you choose to use acrylics for that reason.
Yeah, and also I'm still kind of learning. Every time I paint something, I learn something new about the way that paint works. I'm never quite. I don't think I've mastered acrylics yet, and I've been painting with acrylics for years. There's always something new to learn. I think here in Malta, for some reason, people don't really value acrylics the way that because I think they associate oils with old masters, and if you can paint in oil, then by default you're a master, and they want to see their paintings done in oil in a big gilt frame, and that kind of gives it value, which to some people that's how they value it. Others, thankfully, have gone beyond that and see the content, the message, and the technique, perhaps, as to what really makes a painting work and what makes it valuable, regardless of whether it's an oil or acrylic or watercolor. There's hundreds of people doing watercolors, and some are amazing and some are not so good. So it's not about the medium, it's about the image that you create, I think, and the message, perhaps, that you're trying to say.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Having said that, I do see these people with the incredible skill with watercolor and oils, and I do get a bit jealous sometimes. But each to their own. Everyone's got a different
yeah, exactly, yeah,
personality, So tell us a bit about your process. How do you start a piece of work? From the idea, where do you go from there? How do you compose your image? Do you use reference materials, photographs? How does it all work?
Yeah, mostly I like to work from photographs, ideally photographs that I've taken. If it's a photograph that I've seen online that I didn't take, I will invariably, if it's that good, I will ask the creator. Recently, I painted a scene of fishermen and Marshall Schlock at dawn, just getting ready with their nets and what have you. And that was taken by a guy called Charles Nifson, who takes an amazing photography. I love his work. And I asked him, I said, look, do you mind if I turn this into a painting? He said, no, go ahead. He absolutely loved the painting, actually. He said it was better than the photograph. I kind of not quite, I thought it was very complimentary, but, he said I brought something else to it, which was nice, which was great, because I, if you like, exaggerated the light a little bit. But, if I find a good photograph, I'll take it, I'll usually put it into Photoshop, have a look at it, crop it where I want to crop it. Sometimes, but to transfer a photograph onto the canvas, I'll grid it up. I'll grid the canvas up to the same ratio grid on the photograph. And then I'll just basically draw it out onto the canvas and then start with the underpainting and then build the painting up from there. With portraiture, again, very important, I'll grid it up and meticulously put the drawing in. And now I used to use charcoal, but I used to contaminate the paint. So now I use blendable pencils to draw the painting or the image on the canvas. I'll use a blendable pencil in a colour that's kind of conducive to the painting, if you see what I mean.
You mean?
And then when I start, then I'll map it out. Sorry, Paul.
You mean watercolour pencils? They're
blendable, Caran d'Ache, these babies here. Yeah, okay. Come in different colours. Yeah, but they're water soluble. Yeah. So once you go on with acrylic, yeah, exactly. Once you go on it with acrylic, they don't contaminate the paint. And if anything, you can use them within the paint itself, as it were. So then I'll map it out using a medium tone, just to map out the overall image, and then I'll just start building it up, layer by layer, light and dark.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're quite meticulous about how you plan these things.
It's from the design background, yeah. I spent years trying to make things look exactly like they're supposed to look. I was spending my imagination. How does this look? How does this look, Bob? If you're designing a piece of furniture or a store interior, the client wants to know what it's going to look like, and that's what he's paying you for. So, my whole training is about making things look exact. So, I try to shape that off a little bit. It's not easy.
Yeah. It's very hard, isn't it? I mean, I have a similar struggle. I'm forever trying to make myself loosen up a little bit. Yeah. I invariably end up with these pieces that look, very, very...
I'm really jealous of people who can do that. I'm really jealous who, those people who can just throw something down and it's just a wild kind of mix of marks. I'll get there one day. I'll probably need to get a few drinks down me first, though.
It's not such a problem. It helps sometimes. So I'm going to ask you the dreaded question about how long you take on a piece. I know to an extent it's all very different. Different pieces take longer in terms of time. But how long would you typically spend on a piece like this, for example?
Well, this one's come not being funny. This one hasn't been so difficult. The danger is I overwork it. I'll start overworking it. So I'm trying to hold back. But, every one of these, this is probably, I'm going to do another 30% poppies. This is only, 60, 70% of them. I need to do more. And then I'll need to do more of the yellow because there are so many in the image. And then there's also lots of little white flowers, like, I don't know what they're called. I need to look them up. But there's lots of little white flowers will go in. The background is pretty much finished. So I reckon I'll have this finished tomorrow. And I started it yesterday. I did about 3 hours yesterday. I've done about 3, maybe 4 hours today. And tomorrow I'll do another 2 or 3 hours. And hopefully that will be done. But this is quite unusual, actually. This is quite quick for me.
Yes.
A portrait can take a good 15, 18 hours for a portrait, yeah? And a couple of portraits I've done 3 of those sessions because I've painted it, looked at it, didn't like it, gone back, started again,
Yeah.
So some paintings can take weeks, literally, because I have to be absolutely happy with it. And it's some portraits of it, it's just tiny little nuances of, either a position of an eye or a slight curvature of the mouth. It can make such a difference to the image itself, you know. And because I paint in a very realistic fashion, you'll see some examples, but I like my portraits to look like the person. I don't do wild and woolly and semi-abstract. Again, you know, I have tried a couple. I like Modigliani's work, you know, where he does kind of almost caricatures of people, and he extends all the features and he simplifies everything down, and he has black lines to it. I love his work, and I've tried doing a couple of things. Done it with a painting of Jimi Hendrix and the Joker. I really love the Joker from the new movie. I've done about 4 paintings of the Joker now. I might do another one actually, because I'm a big movie buff. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's funny with portraits, isn't it? Because if you're commissioned for one, then people want you to capture a likeness. That's why they're asking you to do it, for the most part, anyway. And then once you...
For me, it's not just the likeness. You have to try and capture... I know it sounds corny, but you need to capture the soul of the person. You need to look into their eyes and feel that they are either looking out at you or there is some thought. You know, you can see them thinking in their heads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I've done 2 or 3 really nice portraits of late, actually. I was really pleased.
Yeah. We'll drop them in over the top of this video so that people can see your work as we're chatting. So what are the materials that you've got there in front of you? I can see you've got your palette and your brushes.
I've got my plastic palette, which I don't normally use. This is like, for me, it's a bit of a toy palette. I normally work off a piece of glass. Okay. I have a nice piece of glass in my studio, and I can clean that down really well. This is not easy to clean.
Yeah.
And then I have this little thing, this baby here, which is my mortar tray. Yeah. And all the brushes plug into that, which is great. I have my selection of brushes. I have my squirter, so I can wet the canvas.
Okay, so that's just...
And I have my iPad. Yeah. I have my iPad, which I use as my reference point. I'm using my iPad.
Okay, so you're working from that image. Directly.
Yeah, and the great thing about an iPad, obviously, you know, you can zoom in.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Which is better than working from a photograph or a magazine image. You know, I can zoom in on it, so that's cool. And especially when it comes to portraiture, because if I take the pictures, I'll take 40 pictures to find the exact image I want, and then I can get right in, you know, because I need a high-res image. I tried to do a couple of portraits where people have sent me phone image, and it's like, it's low-res. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare trying to do it like that. That doesn't really work.
It doesn't work at all. I used to do portraits, and people would you'd ask for a high-res image, and they'd send you these fuzzy things back. And, you know, in many cases, your painting's only as good as the image that you got to work from. Sometimes. Absolutely right.
Absolutely right.
You can't always have the luxury of having a model in front of you for days on end. You know, people are busy, and some people it doesn't suit. You know, so you have to work from focus. Okay, so I want to ask you about Gozo and about the kind of artist quarter that I know there is to an extent.
Yeah. I mean, Gozo and Malta as well, but Gozo's got a lot of artists here. Some brilliant local Gozitan artists who are fantastic. You know, I take my hat to them. One of my favorites is Paolo Camilleri-Calchi. He does church ceilings and biblical paintings, but his actual love is abstract. If you see some of his abstracts, are amazing. People wanting to do biblical scenes, and he's brilliant. Absolutely love him to bits. George Cicluna, amazing. Chris Saliba, amazing. Carbonaro, amazing. So many brilliant local artists, but then there's loads of expat artists here. Goes and draws them because the light's so good. And obviously there's an awful lot of people here in retirement or semi-retirement like me who take up painting late, but there's some brilliant ones. And because of that, we started the Gozo Art Society, GAS for short, whereby I've now probably got about 70 members. And what happens there is that we meet once a month and we do demos. So we invite people to come along and demo their particular art skill, be it, you know, interpretive dance, be it mosaic, be it watercolor, be it acrylics, and it's fantastic because over the space of a couple of hours, you just get to have an insight into how somebody works, what turns them on, their background, and it's a great networking event as well. We can discuss, where to get materials, how we do certain things, and then the idea is we start to exhibit collectively. We have one small exhibition for Christmas, collective work up at the Citadel. Obviously now things have kind of come to a bit of a grinding halt, but the aim is over a period of time we'll be able to exhibit a large exhibition of work in Gozo, but ultimately in Malta as well. GAS Art Society, and it's got a lot of interest, and you'll see it on the Facebook page. We'll put a link up for you. But anyone who's got as an artist doesn't have to be an artist. Could just be an art lover, someone who's just starting out, wants to learn how to do certain things. Happy to share any information or techniques or skills with anyone who turns up, basically.
Okay, so people can find you on Facebook, the Gozo Art Society, GAS, i.e. GAS.
Yes, that's it.
I've kind of got this impression of Gozo. I'm not as familiar with Gozo as I am with, this side of the water in Malta itself. But we ran an event in 2018 called The Trail, and we had 50 artists take part, some of which were from Gozo. We had Ed Roberts, who's I
remember. I came to that actually. I did come to
that. Okay, great.
I did. Yeah. Well, we were going to set one up here for GAS. We were going to do an open studio event here at Trail, and we were just in the process of getting all that together when this virus malarkey hit. So it's like, oh, hang on, back off. We can't do anything yet. So but that is on the cards. We're going to do one here, and we've got maybe 20 open studios on our trail that you can see in and around Victoria. So you must come to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, the idea is that we're going to run more of the same thing. We're planning one, hopefully, all things being well with Corona Gate, in the autumn of this year in Valletta. But as I was saying, I mean, it would be great if they happened all over the place. More better, and particularly.
Well, you mentioned Ed Roberts. She's part of GAS, and she's very keen. She's quite instrumental. She's one of the sort of working party working on that with Jackie Roberts, who's a metal worker.
Yeah, Jackie.
That will happen eventually.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, I love Ed Roberts' work. She was part of the trail. We also had from Gozo David De Bono, who is a more sort of traditional painter, paints portraits, kind of more dark and somber, but really beautiful portraits. And we were also hoping to have Sally Jane, but she wasn't in the country at the time. She's from Gozo. Okay. I'm sure you know Sally Jane. She did these kind of hyper-realistic portraits with inflatables.
Amazing. I mean, that is proper realism. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. But there seems to be a lot going on in Gozo. So so this, watch this space definitely with your art society. I'm gonna finish off by just asking you a little bit about because obviously you had your exhibition postponed, which is a shame, but where the whole point of doing this video is so that people can still see your work, despite this being cancelled. So I wanted to ask you, do you have work for sale? Are people able to see your work online and contact you if they're interested? How are you managing it at the moment?
Yeah, I've got a number of pieces for sale actually. Again, I'm not doing this to make a living out of it, because I still make a living working with clients back in the UK. It's lovely when I sell paintings. Like I said, I'm trying to get to the point where I sell more paintings than I do work online with my clients. Would love to become just a self-sufficient artist. But that will take time as I build up the portfolio and get my name out there a bit. But all my paintings, a number of paintings for sale. I've still got some fabulous car paintings. A large part of the collection at the moment is in the BOV Bank in Victoria, because it was there for the whole of this month, and now with the virus, it's probably going to be there till the virus ends. They're on the wall. But if you do go into the BOV in Victoria and see some of the more recent works, some of my favourite more popular works, actually. Like I did a painting of the turtle called Cardona, that's up there. And a couple of two or three of the car paintings, and then the Thin Red Line, which is the fisherman in St Paul's Bay, he's up there as well. So there's some really nice paintings there, all for sale. Probably go for a discount now, trying to get some paintings out. I'm running out of space at the gallery. Can't hang anymore. I haven't got enough wall space. But I'm still obviously producing paintings, and I'd like to get them out there, so people can start enjoying them.
Yeah. So we'll obviously include your links in this video, but for anyone who wants to follow you, it's Bob Cardona Studio on Facebook.
Bob Cardona Studio Facebook page, yeah. It's called, it used to be Prickly Pear, but I've changed all that now because Prickly Pear was an inherited title from the studio that I took over. So that's proper Bob Cardona Studio. You'll find it dead easy. If you're in Victoria, when all this is over, please look me up. It's a short stroll from the hub of cafe culture in St George's Square. So it's terrific. It's just literally 20 yards from the front of St George's Church.
So people can actually come and see you, visit you in your studio?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, come along. They can sit, chat, wonder about, they can come into the studio, talk to me and watch me work, or they can just come and buy stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really great. So it's not just a gallery, it's actually a workspace as well, where people can see you doing your
Absolutely, yeah. I work there, I hang my stuff there. It's handy for me to nip out and get a cappuccino down the square. And it's a good place to be.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks for showing us your work, inviting us into your home. For people watching this video, there is an accompanying article in the Times of Malta coming out, in which we show some of Bob's work and we have a chat with him about life, the universe, arts, quarantine, and everything else. So check that out. We'll include the link below. But meanwhile, stay safe, stay home, keep up the good work in your quarantine creativity. And thanks very much, Bob.
Pleasure. Stay safe. Stay indoors.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.